first season with the Bucs. Quarterback coach Clyde Christensen admitted that last season Brady never felt good, and the injury limited his mobility due to it being taped so tight each game. So talking to reporters yesterday, Brady says he now feels better than ever. Take a listen.
Physically, I feel great. Best I felt, really in a long time. So, I feel like I'm in a good place, and I'm just going to keep working really hard we've got 1 week, about 3.5 weeks or so. It's the first time in 14 years I haven't had to wear a knee sleeve. I mean, every picture I've had for 14 years has been a knee sleeve, and in games I'll still wear a knee brace just because I still want to protect, from kind of a vulnerable spot for a quarterback, your front left knee. But it's just nice to practice and feel like I can just kind of put a pair of shorts on and run out to practice. And it's good, though. I'm feeling, like I said, physically feeling great, mentally in a good place. I'm just really excited to see what our team can become.
Shannon, this is a really, really important question. How tired are you of hearing how healthy Brady is now?
I'm exhausted. Skip.
Are you?
I really am. And the more they talk about it, the more they turn people off. They're like, we get it already. But Skip, Tom Brady's 43. Most 43, I'm saying at the time, he was 43.
Yeah.
Skip, you have bumps and bruises. What do you think Tom was a 22-year-old? He was a Statue of Liberty to begin with, Skip. They make it seem like he had Kyler Murray or he had Lamar Jackson, Michael Vick type mobility. And it really inhibited him from doing all the things. Tom Brady might have 100 career yards rushing. And they're making it seem like all of a sudden, we get it. But what does last year have to do with this year? There are a lot of guys that play in a knee brace, that they don't practice in the knee brace, because you heard him say it. I've always had the knee sleeve on in practice. I didn't wear the brace, but I always wear the brace because I want to protect it because that's a vulnerable position. He's not the first. A lot of guys only plays in the knee brace. But I don't get why they keep trying to rehash this. We've got the greatest story ever. We got a guy that played 20 years in one location. He goes to another location, learns a very different system, even though they ingratiated some of the plays that he's familiar with. He wins the Super Bowl, becomes the first team to ever win a home Super Bowl, which means they won the game in the very stadium they play their home game. But that's not good enough. Skip, that's not a good enough story. I got to add yeast to a cake that's already 15 feet high. Why? Why does Clyde Christensen feel like he needs to keep saying, oh, Tom was this, Tom was that? Bruh, we get it. But the more you do this, the less people believe that it's actually true. Because it seems like you keep trying to tell a story. You say it once, you move on. You don't have to. It seems like everything out of Clyde Christensen's mouth is about Tom Brady's knee and what he couldn't do. How about his arm? Could he throw the ball? Ain't nobody running no zone read with Tom. Nobody ran no. When last time we saw Tom Brady run a quarterback keeper, Skip? So he's not going to do that. So he's not nearly as limited as, say, a Lamar Jackson or a Michael Vick or a Kyler Murray would have been, or even a Josh Allen if they had the same injury. Tom Brady is slide, what we call phone booth quickness. He's going 2 steps to the left, 2 steps to the right, get rid of the football. But Skip, I'm exhausted. I really am. I mean, they've talked about this ad nauseum. And I'm getting nauseous because I'm over it. But last year has nothing to do with this year. Can we just move on now, Clyde? Okay, we get it, Clyde. Tom had an injury. It's over. Can we move on?
Are you saying you are skeptical that he actually had a torn knee ligament that he played the entire season with last year?
Skip, no, I'm saying is that the more you reiterate something, the more people I don't know. You trying awful hard to convince us that this is what actually happened. If you tell somebody something one time and it sounds convincing, people okay. But when you keep bringing it up, hey, man, let me tell you about that time. Okay, that's a lie because you keep adding to it.
Okay, my turn. The most underrated talent a quarterback has is what I call pocket mobility, what you just called phone booth quickness. Slide stepping is gold for a quarterback.
Yeah.
The ability to have the sixth sense of he's there and he's coming there, and I have to slide 45 degrees left before I plant and throw.
Right.
And if you have a torn ligament in your knee, whichever way you have to move, if you're going to plant on that left knee, it's going to hurt. It's just going to be irritating. It's not going to be debilitating. It's just going to annoy the hell out of you because you're going to wince a little bit, even in your subconscious, because you know it's coming when you plant.
Right.
It's not going to feel great. And he overcame that all last year. I'm sure he just sucked it up and just tried to bury it in his subconscious.
Right.
Like, I know it's there. I just got to figure out how to play through it.
Correct.
You played through 1,000 things.
Yeah.
This is a hard thing for a quarterback to play through. Obviously, he cannot run down the football field, and he doesn't even try to run down the football field.
But the quarterback position is the only position that could actually play with that injury, or offensive lineman, because they're not moving.
I buy that, but I have said from the start, this guy has ballet dancer feet in the pocket.
Yes.
It's very underrated gift that he has,
Yes.
because you have
The
to be
great
able
ones
to
have
do
it.
this. It's imperceptible quickness with your feet to reset, to reposition yourself, to throw while that defensive end is swiping and missing you.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you're doing all that while keeping your eyes down the field. You're not looking at this right here. All this, you're down the field. It's just in his second nature to him.
Okay. So he's just saying, I'm in such a better place than I was because it's been 14 years since I actually got to go out to practice without a knee sleeve on. I think he feels like a kid again at 44. You know what he said? I can just put on shorts and my top and just run out the door.
So for the last 14 years, he's had this injury?
Well, he said he's had knee issues because remember, you got to go back to what year was it? 2008 when opening game, he got it torn up.
Right.
And it's that left plant foot, right?
That's the play.
He said that's the vulnerable one. That's why from that point forward, he had to wear a brace. And he still said, I'm going to wear a precautionary brace on my left knee when we play football games.
Correct,
right?
yes.
Okay, so I get all that, but he's just freer now. And he talked yesterday about how it's so much easier now. He compared what last year was. He said, I went to the first day of camp last year, and he said, I didn't know what Tampa right meant, because he said it's like going from English to Spanish.
Yes.
Right?
That's what Tampa, yes.
It's a whole, I don't know how it was from Denver to Baltimore for you, but the lingo's all different.
Right.
Everything's named differently, and so it's not second nature. When he's calling a play in the huddle, it's like you're trying to translate into Spanish, and like, well, what does that mean?
Exactly.
It's hard to process. And he said now it just rolls off his tongue, second nature, where he doesn't have to think about the play call.
Right.
He can actually think about, how am I going to execute the play?
That's exactly
He
right.
said it was so hard because not only was I not comfortable with the play call, but I wasn't comfortable with how my players can execute that play. Will they be there where I think they'll be,
Correct.
or are they different than what I used to work with? And then he said on top of that, then you have to try to figure, what is the defense going to do reacting to your guys, because you don't even know how you guys are going to react.
And that's the hardest part, Skip. That's why you don't see a whole lot of quarterback movement. Every other position get traded. Offensive lineman, a wide receiver, a running back, a DB, but not the quarterback, Skip, because it's so hard.
Okay, so what happened the first 8 games last year? It was hit and miss at best, and there were some big misses, man. That Sunday night against New Orleans, it was a disaster. At Chicago, ended up being a disaster, right? It was hard to watch. And then guess who arrived? Antonio Brown arrived. And guess what? He hurt his knee, and it's a meniscus tear, so it wasn't like a ligament damage. But he had the first surgery of his career this offseason and got it cleaned up. And Arians is saying Antonio Brown is running the way he did 4 or 5 years ago. So if Brady is 100% healthy and freer mentally, and Antonio, who kept getting a little better by the game, even though he was struggling with his knee and had to miss the NFC Championship game at Green Bay, if those two guys, probably the two key components on offense, wouldn't you say? Because Brady loves Antonio and vice versa. If they are 100% healthy, you don't think this offense is going to be even better right out of the gate than it was a year ago? Yes. I think it's the best offense. I think it's the most explosive offense because, as you well know, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are really good. They're Pro Bowl caliber, right?
Yeah.
And Gronk looked like he was, he can't do quite what he used to, but in spots and stretches.
And that's how they use him. If you look at it, Skip, the way they used him, he was like they just milling around. They're doing a lot of blocking, and he catch a pass here, catch a pass there. But come playoff time, you see they start to feature him more.
They did.
He starts to become the Gronk that we know, the guy that's as good an offensive weapon in playoff as we've ever seen in the NFL.
And I mentioned to you, O.J. Howard missed the whole year last year with an Achilles tear. He's a stud.
Yeah,
he
can be really
freakishly
good.
Gifted, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know how quickly